By 1931, Hollywood had spent years refining the technology of synchronized audio, making the talkie the new standard for global cinema. Yet, inside Japan's major production houses, the silent film remained the dominant format. While the West moved toward dialogue, Japanese screens stayed quiet. Why was a nation that was modernizing its industry at such a rapid pace so hesitant to adopt the most significant advancement in film history? The delay wasn't caused by a lack of access to microphones or speakers. Instead, the transition to sound was blocked by a specific cultural infrastructure that made silent film highly profitable. That infrastructure centered on the benshi, performers who stood at the edge of the screen to provide live narration, character voices, and even philosophical commentary on the film. These performers were the primary draw of the movie-going experience. Often, the public went to theaters specifically to hear them. For a studio, removing the benshi meant alienating a massive, loyal audience and risking a complete box office collapse. Director Hainosuke Gosho and the Shochiku studio aimed to change this. They wanted to prove that the actual sounds of 1930s Tokyo, the music, the traffic, the domestic chatter, were more compelling than a single narrator's voice. Gosho had to find a way to navigate a labor force that viewed sound as an existential threat, all while working with imported recording equipment that was barely functional in a standard studio environment. To succeed, he had to do more than just record dialogue. He had to convince a public used to the theater-like atmosphere of the benshi that recorded audio could offer a type of intimacy that live performance couldn't match. The first attempts at recording were physically restrictive. The microphones were large and highly sensitive, and required actors to stand perfectly still in cramped formations to ensure their voices were caught. The cameras posed a secondary problem. Their internal gears made a loud, mechanical whirring sound that the microphones picked up instantly. To dampen the noise, crews had to wrap the cameras in heavy, thick quilts. Because microphones couldn't be seen on screen without breaking the illusion of the scene, they had to be stashed in flower vases or tucked behind heavy furniture. These hidden placements meant that if an actor moved a few inches off their mark, their dialogue became a muffled, unintelligible mess. At this stage, sound was a burden. It limited camera movement and stiffened the actors' performances, making the final product feel more like a filmed play than a dynamic movie. Shochiku's sound engineers were struggling to block out the ambient noise of the city outside. Rather than continuing to spend time and money trying to insulate the set, Gosho decided to incorporate that environmental noise into the script itself. This approach became the basis for The Neighbor's Wife and Mine, a light-hearted comedy of everyday life, or shomengeki. The film centers on a playwright struggling to finish his work while his house is filled with the sounds of a busy household. Gosho designed the audio to be constant friction. In his home, the writer is bombarded by a crying baby and domestic chores. Next door, a neighbor begins a loud jazz rehearsal. This wall of sound becomes his primary obstacle against a modernizing neighborhood. By making the technical limitations of microphones, the way they pick up background noise and overlapping voices, the central focus of the comedy, Gosho showed that sound could be used to build a joke rather than just record a line of text. When the film opened at Tokyo's Empire Theater, the response was immediate. The domestic comedy became a major commercial success, drawing in the very audiences the studios feared would stay home. Viewers were captivated by the modern girl neighbor. She represented a new social type in Japan, defined by her Western clothing and jazz records. Seeing this character on screen and actually hearing the jazz music she played made the film feel like a direct reflection of the changing city streets outside the theater. The audience wasn't just reacting to a new gadget. They were reacting to a story using sound to capture the specific energy of 1931 Japan. Following this success, the benshi unions organized strikes and protests, but the momentum had completely shifted. Major studios immediately accelerated their plans to convert theaters for sound projection. Gosho demonstrated that recorded audio allowed for a level of human intimacy, like hushed whispers, sudden frantic arguments, and overlapping laughter that a single live narrator could never replicate. His methods for hiding microphones and using ambient noise to tell a story provided the technical framework for the next generation of directors, including Yasujiro Ozu. By treating his technical obstacles as creative opportunities, Gosho proved that the talkie wasn't a threat to Japanese storytelling, but a tool that would allow it to reach a wider, modern audience.